Welcome, welcome, one and all. This is one of my personal favorite subjects. I love a good future talk, so let's get right into it. What is Solarpunk? According to Wikipedia, Solarpunk is a literary and artistic movement that envisions and works towards actualizing a sustainable future interconnected with nature and community. Earth.org says Solarpunk offers an apologetically optimistic vision of the future that imagines a radically different societal and economic structure in harmony with nature. Let's go straight into the definition for cyberpunk. Wikipedia says cyberpunk is a subgenre of science fiction in a dystopian futuristic setting that tends to focus on a combination of low life and high tech, featuring futuristic technological and scientific achievements such as artificial intelligence and cyberware, juxtaposed with societal collapse, dystopia, or decay. Mind you, Solarpunk does delve into areas of posthumanism as well, specifically in regards to how technology can kind of assist in optimizing a human being or in restoring full function to a human being. Technology is actually quite a large part of Solarpunk as well, and while cyberpunk is referred to here as high-tech low life, solarpunk is often referred to as high-tech high life. And from what I understand, low life / high life is both referring to quality of life and the dignity or stature with which people are perceived as having within that society. So literally like a low life versus a high life, a high level of dignity for general civilians, basically. So with that in mind, let's go into some of the common themes and aesthetics generally found in both of these movements. Both of these movements are highly aesthetically driven, or at least rely quite heavily on communication through the avenues of aesthetics. So Cyberpunk Matrix has this to say: it's more than just a genre, it's a culture, an aesthetic, and a warning all in one. The cyberpunk aesthetic is really neon-soaked streets late at night in the rain. It often features endless advertisements in the form of holograms, flying cars, plastic transparent umbrellas, and giant megastructures with millions of people living crammed in tiny little rooms all together. It features punk clothing and cybernetics galore. The original cyberpunk movement was born out of response to the previous utopian depiction of the future in science fiction. Cyberpunk wants to consider rampant high-tech developments when they are released without social or moral considerations. The ever-important warning with Cyberpunk is saying, yeah, high-tech is cool, but look at all the ways it could be misused. These are the warning signs that if we don't heed, will lead to a dystopian society of people trapped under the heel of totalitarian governments or ruthless mega-corporations, devoid of freedom and constantly under surveillance. I basically have to wash my mouth out with soap after reading that. It's a very fear-driven movement or culture or genre. There is definitely a nobility in the warning aspect of it, but I will say I kind of had to dig for that interpretation of cyberpunk, and I do find quite an amount of glorification of cyberpunk aesthetics and people who kind of do think it's cool and that's a vibe for them. Furthermore, I do have qualms with the notion that broadcasting a quite pessimistic view of the future over and over and over again is really serving the purpose that they think it is. Presumably, their intention is to shift things back towards a more positive future. And I really pose the question of if there's a genuine belief that they are in any way contributing to a more positive future by broadcasting these very negative aesthetics and storylines. So I'm all with the warning aspect of it. I'm sure that there is a benefit in that, but just asking whether it is the magnitude of benefit that they would presumably be hoping to have. So let's go into the themes found in Solarpunk generally. It's important to note that Solarpunk is also considered to be a social movement. According to Wikipedia, once again, Solarpunks practice the movement in various ways, including creating and living in communities such as eco-villages, growing their own food, and a DIY ethic of working with what is available, including the thoughtful application of technology. My girl, Hannah Steinkopf Frank, I actually have not read any of her other writings, so I don't know what her other writings are all about, but this paragraph I'm into it. She says, Solarpunk imagines a world where energy, usually from the sun or wind, can be used without harming our environment, where green roofs and windmills allow humans to live in harmony with nature. On the surface, it might seem like a rosy, perhaps even naive perspective for a moment, where climate change-fueled disasters are in the news every other day. but imagining Solarpunk purely as a pleasant aesthetic undermines its inherently radical implications. Solarpunk is radical in that it imagines a society where people and the planet are prioritized over the individual and profit. My biggest note here, and the biggest obvious difference that I see between Cyberpunk and Solarpunk, is that Solarpunk is discussing solutions. This is such an hugely important part of making any kind of progress and change. So I gotta tip my hat 1,000 times to the movement for including that within its messages, or not only within its artistic messages, but also, which is huge by itself, but also in day-to-day living. They gave direct examples of how Solarpunk can be applied in the modern day to start to outpicture that vision of the future in the now, and to begin to see that take form through action as well as through story. So the big question, can cyberpunks and solarpunks get along? Solarpunk believes that humans are capable of creating a reasonably functioning society. That's as simple as I feel I could put it. Cyberpunk believes we're destined to fail. That is the sentence that I wrote before researching and recording this video. I do feel I have to make an adjustment there. I don't think that Cyberpunk inherently believes we're designed to fail. However, Cyberpunk is painting a picture of a future in which we have failed so far in creating a reasonably functioning society. So my thesis before, like I said, researching and recording this video, was that they could not get along, that they could not become together a solution, that they would, pun intended, that they would literally be like oil and water when it comes to future building. That they could, however, acknowledge each other as people finding their way in a world that is functioning in a way that sometimes concerns them. Now, with that being said, my adjustment to this is that I think it's possible that Cyberpunk and Solarpunk are two sides of the same coin, that they are a similar message being communicated in different ways, at least in certain applications of cyberpunk. If cyberpunk is indeed a warning, or in the cases in which it serves as that rather than a glorification, then perhaps it is a shadowy friend to solarpunk in a way, where it is having quite a tough conversation and using an alternate form of motivation to Solarpunk's solution-based methodology. Perhaps cyberpunk is the waning, while Solarpunk is the waxing, cyberpunk is the releasing, while Solarpunk is the emerging. That would be what I would consider to be a fruitful relationship and collaboration between these two punks. I will say that I think that generally Solarpunks are quite willing to have uncomfortable conversations and to look at the ways in which things are not cute. I admittedly have not spent a lot of time on the cyberpunk forums of the world. It is a beautiful aesthetic in a way, you know, I can give it that credit, but not one that I have any interest in living in. I say that to say I hope that cyberpunks are also willing to have the conversation of solarpunk methodology, and that if they can be heard out in what not to do, that they could also participate in ideas for solutions and in applications for solutions now. At its best, it seems that cyberpunk is a critique of modern society, while solarpunk is both a critique subtly and overtly a conversation around ways in which we can improve on modern society. As everybody knows, we are stronger together, and this is my suggestion and slight adjustment to my previous thinking after going through the process of this video. I now reveal my solarpunkness. Surprise, surprise, you know, if you've made it through this video, and especially if you've seen any of the other videos on this channel. I doubt that this is a surprise to you, but yes, I feel an affinity to this methodology, to this genre, to this movement, however you want to look at it. As far as what I know about it thus far, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, I know what I know about it, and what I can say specifically is that I align myself with values of hope, community, and stewardship of nature through and through. So That's all for today. I welcome alternate or ongoing perspectives in the comments. Keep it cute as always. I'd love it if you subscribed, and bye.